welcome back, everybody, to Evolve Sport and Nutrition. This is Ben, and today we're doing a few things. We are talking about sports nutrition for student athletes as a part of the continuing series for the Student Survival Guide for Nutrition of August. And, next week we're going to be talking about what the next theme is going to be for September. Surprise, or little bit of a teaser. It's going to be for the parents, so that's going to be good. But for the remainder of August, including next week, we are going to do the Student Survival Guide, Nutrition Survival Guide for new students. Today's episode, we are talking about sports nutrition for students. So if you're new here, please like, please subscribe, do all the things that YouTubers ask you to do. And I'm probably going to do it again at the end because, I got to get better at my job. But right now, I am cooking one of my favorite, I want to say struggle bus meals, but, it's really not. It's just one of my favorite meals of all time, which is soy sauce chicken with rice and bok choy, basically. Now, all I'm doing right now is washing the rice, and I want to be very, very clear what that means. I see a lot of people talk about, like, when you wash the rice, you're washing the impurities away. I don't know what impurities they're actually talking about, but the rice, when you wash the rice, what you're trying to do is get rid of all the rice particles, the stuff that turns into flour and all that kind of stuff, because it adds too much starch to the water and ends up making all your rice clumpy. What we're aiming for is rice that is a little bit more separated, a little bit less starchy, a little bit more demure. I still don't know what that means. It's a stupid trend, but I'm a big fan of stupid trends. So we have it washed, and we're putting it into the Instant Pot, and we're just going to seal it up. Now, I didn't want to wash a lot of it on camera, largely because I just didn't want to spend a lot of time at the sink, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time preparing the ingredients and all that kind of stuff, showing you how easy this recipe actually is for the chicken. And then we can get to talk about the nutrition while we're waiting for everything to prepare and fully cook. So that's what we have planned for today, and we are going to do a little bit of prep work first and then talk about the nutrition. Now, yes, we are talking about sports nutrition for students, and the reason why this is important is because most kids, for many reasons, start to get physically active during their university years. Now, a lot of this could be because you're a guy that didn't have too much success with girls in high school, and now you're trying to put on some lean muscle mass to impress the new college students. You could be just, hey, I'm a varsity athlete, and I never really cared about how I was eating because my parents took care of that for me. Or you are just being like, hey, I want to really take myself seriously with my sport and go pro and all that kind of stuff. You could be here for a ton of different reasons, right? But all I find is that during the varsity years, people start to get a little bit more active, and of course that's where good habits are created. So I talked to a lot of students about this, and have been over the past month, so I thought I'd create a stream. Today, and I've talked about these subjects separately in separate streams before, like you'll hear me talking about like the pre-workout nutrition stream, all that kind of stuff. But today I'm putting it all in one place for students, right? And of course talking about some very specific things that students deal with, and of course what you need to consider with supplements and supplement routines as a varsity student, if that's something that you're going into. So I hope you all have questions. I hope you all are curious and looking to learn, because that's exactly what we're here to do. Provide a non-judgmental safe space to learn and to increase your knowledge. So if you have questions, please hit the comment section below, all that kind of stuff. I've got the rice going. I'm just chopping up some garlic, not too finely. Doesn't need to be that big, or it doesn't need to be that small. Doesn't need to be minced, but you know, we're just gonna go all the way. We're just gonna do that right now. Do a little bit of prep for the soy sauce chicken, and then chop up the ginger a little bit more, because you gotta have the ginger. So that's what we're doing right now, and it's gonna be ready in a little bit, and then we're gonna start cooking the friggin' chicken legs. One of my favorite things in the world, largely because not only chicken legs a little bit less expensive than white meat chicken, it's a lot tastier, gets you a lot more flavor. In my opinion, I like dark meat way more than white meat. I do not like white meat. If you serve me white meat, like chicken breast, I'm going to be like, did I do something wrong? Like, I just don't like white meat. I think it's got no flavor. It can have flavor, but generally speaking, it doesn't, right? So, that's what I'm doing today. Prepared up a little thing of garlic, a little thing of ginger. We're going to get our soy sauces. Let's talk about the soy sauces, but then it's pretty much to prep right away. So, what we have is the regular soy sauce. We have dark soy sauce for the color. We have oyster sauce, and basically the rest of this, and then we have our chicken drumsticks. That's what we're basically going to use. I forgot. We have Shaoxing wine. Let's pull out the Shaoxing wine. Where's my? Oh, there it is. We also have the Shaoxing wine. That's going to give you a good amount of flavor in there. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring you all over here real quick, because this happens very, very quickly. I'm just going to turn on the Dutch oven that I got. We're just going to do this on the stove top. It really takes like a really, really fast amount of time. It is from start to finish, usually like friggin' not that long. I don't know how long, but it's not that long. I also have my bok choy being soaked and washed right now to let all the dirt come out. And what I'm going to do is just take that out. I'm just going to cut it in half. We're just going to stir fry this in the pan real fast. And that's like a super fast thing that we're going to do at the end when the chicken is about to finish. And we're going to use a lot of the chicken soy sauce flavor to kind of pull everything together, because right now we got the rice going. That's usually going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's perfect timing to have all this kind of stuff. This meal should be done roughly within 30 minutes. And if you're not good with flavors, if you're not good with that kind of stuff, then this is the recipe for you. So, like I said, please like, please subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. We are halfway done the prep. And let's get to this side of it. So, I'm going to pull you all over to this side so you can see what I'm doing. But let's talk a little bit about nutrition. Hold on, I'm going to get some of this stuff out of here. I wanted to play a high stakes game today, which is I wanted to actually do a workout and make this my post-workout recovery meal, so that this would be a little bit more legit. But you know, that leaves me in predicament situations at times. So we've got that. I'm gonna pull the microphone over too until I can get a dual mic set up. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm turning on the heat for my Dutch oven, and I'm gonna put this on a, ooh, wait, that's the wrong one. I'm gonna put this on a medium high, roughly around a 6, depending on what your settings are. And then I'm just going to put some oil in this, some neutral oil, and then start throwing the chicken drumsticks in there to get some browning. And then we're going to throw a whole bunch of the sauces in there, and then we're good to go. Muy bueno. Now, let's talk about a little bit about pre-workout nutrition. So you see the thing down below. The first goal is we're talking about pre-workout nutrition. Now, there's a ton of things to consider with pre-workout nutrition, the timing of your workout, as well as what the timing of your meals are. Now, I always say to people, if you have 60 to 90 minutes before a workout, you're aiming for a snack. If you have more than that, like up to 2-3 hours before a workout, you're aiming for a meal. The reason why is largely because if you're, for example, not waking up first thing in the morning, you're having your breakfast, and then you're going to go to your workout, and then you're going to have lunch afterwards, you really don't need a pre-workout snack. You really, really don't, depending on what you're doing for your physical activity, that is, right? These are, of course, nutrition recommendations, and they all need to be customized, but generally speaking, you really don't need that specific of a nutrition plan. So, while that's heating up, there we go. Instant Pot has sealed. There we go. The pre-workout nutrition, like I said, if you have between 90 minutes, around 60 to 90 minutes before a meal, you're having some sort of snack. Depending on the type of workout you're doing, you're either focusing a little bit more on carbohydrates or a little bit more on proteins and fats and all that kind of stuff. And what I mean by that is if you have a high intensity workout, right? And what I consider a high intensity workout is a workout above the intensity on 1 to 10 rate of perceived effort scale. If you have a workout that is above 7 out of 10, you're now using the anaerobic energy pathway. The anaerobic energy pathway, what that does is it uses carbohydrate as the primary fuel source. So you want to be able to do that, have the carbohydrates before the workout so that your body can probably use the proper fuels during that workout, right? So, for example, if you're using like big muscle building, big kind of explosive movements, running and at a high heart rate, all that kind of stuff, you would want to have a carbohydrate-rich food beforehand with maybe a little bit of protein to stabilize everything. Now, what I say to a lot of varsity athletes is because practicality is on the way, that you would maybe consider a protein bar with a protein bar with a banana or something like that about 60 to 90 minutes before your workout. That's what I get a lot of people to do. The reason why is because it's nice and easy to walk around with, and you can just throw it all in your bag at the beginning of the day, take it to school, and then it's nice and easy, right? If, for example, you were doing your breakfast or your workout was between meals, you really don't need a snack if you're doing your workout, like if your meal was 2 to 3 hours before your workout, right? You just hit the workout and then you'd be completely fine as long as you have time to digest, as long as it wasn't a particularly heavy meal, like you didn't overeat or anything like that. And of course, remembering one of the biggest things is we want to time those meals and snacks apart every 3 to 4 hours. Now, let's say you had a lower intensity workout, right? Something like yoga, something that is low, like you're doing higher rep ranges on your lifts and all that kind of stuff without focusing on hypertrophy, that kind of stuff. You would want a protein base, you would want to focus a little bit less on the carbohydrates and a little bit more on the proteins and fats. So what that might look like, for example, is you might have like a smaller fruit than a banana, because bananas are quite large in their carbohydrate content. You'd have like maybe, let's say half a banana, right? You'd have half a banana and a good amount of proteins and fats. That way your body can use the proper energy pathway, which is the aerobic energy pathway, to burn fat as a primary fuel source. Because if you're starved before then, you don't eat anything before then it's a little bit more of a challenge for your body to use that energy pathway properly. It still will do it, but you have to look for specific types of workouts, like steady state workouts. So let's say, for example, if you were just running on a treadmill for 30 minutes straight, that's an example of a steady state workout. So keep that in mind. You want to eat something before your workouts. Now, if it's between meals, again, you don't need to do too much that's different. But if it is a situation where you are looking at more of a first thing in the morning, you're going to the gym, all that kind of stuff, you'd want to eat something beforehand. And usually that's, just because I don't like intermittent fasting. And again, you might go back to the previous stream, nutrition strategies for academic success, to learn why. But yeah, don't have something smaller in the morning. Now, I'm going to put this in. It's going to be a little bit louder. The pre-workout nutrition bit's not that complicated. So as long as you're eating something before big workouts, that's the primary goal for you, right? We're gonna put this in the chicken. Now what we're doing with the chicken is we're just gonna brown it a little bit. We're gonna pre-cook it, and then we're gonna throw the soy sauce in, and then let it basically braise in there with all the other things, right? The garlic, as well as the ginger. That's what we're basically doing with this. Now, like I said, this is one of my favorite things to prepare because of how easy it is and how tasty it is. So, and it works with any kind of chicken too. You can do a full chicken. You just need a whole lot more soy sauce. That's why I like chicken drumsticks. Is because they store very well, they freeze very well, and you just throw them back in there. Now, while that's going, it's browning a little bit. Let's change to post-workout nutrition for the point of discussion. Because post-workout nutrition is where I think a lot of students need to really focus in and make some good decisions in regards to their nutrition and their food. And a lot of the reason why is because what you eat after your workout really helps your body recover, repair your lean muscle mass much better. Do not be one of those people that doesn't work out and thinks you've hacked life by not eating enough calories afterwards. Because if you do your workout, which your body interprets as a very stressful thing, and don't eat anything afterwards, then your body will tear down lean muscle mass and put you into fat building mode. So you definitely want to eat something after your workout. Now, what do you want to eat? First things first, you want some protein powder. Now, I am not affiliated with this brand whatsoever, so I'm going to cover up what their brand is. But a whey protein powder, to me, is the best protein powder if you take animal products, like milk products and all that kind of stuff. Now the reason why is because whey protein powder has a good amount of leucine in the protein. The leucine protein will help you build the lean muscle mass much more effectively. If you are vegetarian and can have dairy products, ideally I'd be recommending a whey protein powder. But if you're full-on vegan and can't have those dairy products, that's fine. We're looking at a vegan protein powder for you. Not a big deal, but I will say not nearly as effective based on the research. You can still do it, not nearly as effective. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this real quick. Some of these pieces are turning, some of them aren't. That's okay. What we're going to do now is throw the ginger in. I'm going to throw a good amount of the garlic in. And what we're going to throw in first is the Shaoxing wine. Because what we're going to do is get the pan basically to deglaze a little bit with wine. So, Shaoxing wine. And this ingredient is really one of the most, like a very essential part of this recipe. I know that there's like oyster sauce, soy sauce, and all that kind of stuff that's also essential, but like the Shaoxing wine gives it a flavor profile that really works really well. We're going to throw some oyster sauce in there, and if you're new here, you might hate me, but I don't measure stuff. I might one day, but I don't measure stuff usually. And the reason why is because if you're cooking, you want to taste your food. If you're just using a recipe, then you're not tasting your food, right? So you might see me using a good amount of soy sauce, and you might be like, wow, that's a lot. Well, I'm going to teach you how to use it afterwards to store it a little bit and use it for other cooking applications. Now, I'm using dark soy sauce right now and regular soy sauce. The dark soy sauce is there to give you color and a deeper flavor because it's more caramelized than regular soy sauce. Regular soy sauce is there to add the saltiness of soy sauce usually in, And I'm just going to throw a little bit more oyster sauce in there because to me, you can never have enough oyster sauce. Okay. That's where it's at right now. And then, unpopular opinion, sugar. You want to throw that in. You want to balance everything out because you don't want the predominant flavor to be sodium. You don't want it to be predominantly salt because you want there to be balance. That's the biggest thing with Chinese cooking is that you have to look for balance in everything that you're doing. Now, unpopular thing, but I made a point of dispelling misinformation and, oh, God, that was tough. We got MSG. So we're going to use MSG, just a small little teaspoon of that. Throw that in. Secret flavor hack code. So, love my MSG. I'm just going to throw a little bit of dark soy sauce in. The last time I did it, I didn't have enough dark soy sauce and it didn't look right. So, it's going to go a little bit higher on the dark soy sauce right now. Okay, that's basically all the stuff that we need for this. We're going to let that come to a simmer and then start to adjust everything afterwards. So, we're going to put these ingredients back. And one thing too, the last time I made soy sauce chicken, I had the leftover soy sauce, which is great on other foods. I'm just going to put that in because why not? And then let that come to a boil. And then we're going to turn down the temperature. So put the soy sauce back. And then the Shaoxing wine back. And then we're in business. That is basically soy sauce chicken. You see why it's one of my favorite things because it's so delicious. There's a lot of soy flavor in there, obviously. But yeah, this is one of my favorite recipes because it's so simple. Now, if you can hear in the background, the rice is already done. We're going to check on that in a little bit. That's why this is one of my favorite recipes is because it's so incredibly fast. It really, really is. So, keep this in your back pockets if you're a student or just learning how to cook. It's one of the easiest recipes out there, best tasting things. You can add a lot more stuff to this, like black pepper, cinnamon. You can add a lot of those kind of additional flavors to it. But personally, to me, not necessary. And what we're going to do now is just kind of prepare for the stir-fried bok choy in a little bit. But that being said, let's get back to post-workout nutrition. So what you want to do for the post-workout nutrition is the protein powder, like I said earlier. And then you want, depending on the type of workout you had, a good amount of carbohydrates and protein. You want a combination of those two, not one or the other. A lot of people will be like, well, I'm just going to have more protein. And the reason why you want protein after the protein shake is a protein shake is a fast breakdown protein that is going to digest very, very quickly, and it's going to get to your muscles. It's going to help build and repair. So I did a push workout earlier today. If you've been watching the YouTube channel, you'll notice that I've been posting a lot of training vlogs and all that kind of stuff. So this week's training vlog, you will see me post the workout I just did. And then I had myself scoop in half of that protein powder to get myself like 25 to 30 grams. And now I'm timing it from the meal perspective to get carbohydrates and protein together. The carbohydrates obviously being rice, and the protein being the chicken, the soy sauce chicken, and then gotta have vegetables, right? The bok choy, stir-fried bok choy. So what we're gonna do is basically as this comes to a simmer, I'm going to flip it a little bit and then start working on everything else. But getting back to the post-workout nutrition, what you need for the post-workout nutrition is a combination of protein and carbs in the post-workout meal. Now, the reason why is because your body goes through two stages after a workout, a repair phase and a refueling phase. The repair phase is associated with protein intake coming from the protein powder. You drink the protein, it absorbs in your body, it gets to your active muscle groups like your chest, your shoulders, all that kind of stuff. And then once you're repaired, we have the refueling phase. Now the refueling phase is associated with carbohydrate. Depending on your goals, this is where you want to adjust the amount of carbohydrates, but you're always going to need a little bit of carbohydrates. So what I say to people is the amount of carbohydrates you eat is dependent on what your goal is in your post-workout nutrition plan. If you're looking at building muscle mass or push your workout intensity, then you want to have maybe like 1.5 to 2 times the normal amount of carbohydrates you'd have at a meal. So for example, if you normally have, and this is a very Asian thing, 1 bowl of rice or 1 cup of rice cooked after finishing, like in a normal meal kind of situation, you'd want to aim for anywhere from 1.5 to 2 bowls of rice afterwards. Now, the reason why is because we're actually using carbohydrates and the hormonal response to carbohydrates to build that lean muscle mass and refuel your body properly. First things first, carbohydrates lead to glycogen. Glycogen is refueling the glucose. Glycogen is refueling the energy pathways or the fuel sources that you used during the workout. Cool. But then we want a bigger amount of carbohydrates, for example, because we want a bigger release of insulin after the workout. The insulin is going to help you build that lean muscle mass. Now, if you're a person living with diabetes or you struggle with blood sugars, you would have to have some different kind of discussions altogether. Like, for example, if you have type 1 diabetes, then we might be adjusting your insulin levels after your workout and all that kind of stuff to make sure that we can utilize everything properly, or absorb your nutrition properly, yada yada, that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing in that kind of situation. But again, normally these are not official nutrition recommendations. These are recommendations that are about general guidelines to get you started on everything like that, because I want people to be healthier, have better education, all that kind of stuff. And it starts with knowing where to start and why you're doing something, right? So that's why you're doing protein as a fast-acting protein. Digest that really, really quickly, and then bam, you're hitting it with the carbohydrates and the protein afterwards. Now, the protein should be a solid source and should have a little bit of fat in that. The reason why is because we're looking at the speed of breakdown after and the rate of absorption after your workouts. We want the protein powders after your workouts because they're nice and fast and that they will get to your muscles really, really quickly, but they won't keep you full long term, right? So we want proteins with a little bit of dietary fat in them. So basically for chicken, I just don't trim the skin, and I'll have a little bit of dietary fat added to my meals and all that kind of stuff in order to get the meal to break down slower for a slower release of the nutrition to help my body repair long term, right? The most ideal time to eat your post-workout meal is probably 1 to 2 hours after finishing a workout, with the protein powder being consumed within 20 minutes of finishing the workout. Usually. That's not always the case, but just a blanket statement, guideline across the board, protein powder within 20 minutes of finishing workout, your meal about an hour to 2 after your workout. Now, what happens if you have a class? Now, you'd have to work around that, and you'd have to see if your professor is cool with eating, because one of the biggest things that a lot of university students don't realize when transitioning from high school to university is how nobody cares if you're eating during class, right? They care if you're being a jerk about it. Like if you have like really loud food, like chips or something like that. Or if it's really, really smelly. Like if you microwave fish, you're a jerk in a lecture hall, right? Because it stinks. So like just be mindful and be demure about the stuff that you bring to class. But other than that, you're good. So what we're going to do now is get the pan ready for the bok choy. Just stir fry that up. And then what I'm going to do is behind you, I'm going to start releasing some steam from the rice. All right, so the steam is releasing from the rice. We've turned on the heat for the bok choy, and that's going to stir fry up really, really quickly. We've talked about post-workout nutrition. Now, if your those recommendations that I gave you before, that was only for workouts that are looking to build lean muscle mass or looking to get better at your sport or improve your speed or whatever, right? The carbohydrate content, what you'd normally eat, 1.5 to 2 times more. General rule of thumb. But let's say your workout was a lower level of intensity. I use yoga as an example a lot, because yoga, although it is a good workout, you're not trying to build anything. You're just trying to use what you currently have And don't get me wrong, like if you're like trying to improve at certain yoga poses and all that kind of stuff, great. But that's more of a technique type of thing. And if your skills or your workout was more like, let's say you're on the varsity hockey team and it's more stick handling drills as opposed to like scrimmage or that kind of workout, then you're reducing the level of intensity and you're using the aerobic energy metabolism. The aerobic energy metabolism burns fat as a predominant fuel source. So you don't actually want to have more carbs in those lower intensity workouts, assuming your workout is about 60 minutes, right? You want to, and this applies for like steady state runs, if you're just on the treadmill for like 30 minutes doing that like one speed kind of routine or elliptical or Stairmaster, that kind of stuff, you always go by the rate of perceived effort, right? So your rate of perceived effort, if you were to tell me, oh yeah, my workout is 6 out of 10 intensity, then great, we know how to feed you. We're focusing a little bit less on carbohydrates because we're not looking to build, but we're allowing the body to burn the fat off the body, right? So in that situation, I tell people, still have the protein powder, keep your carbohydrates the exact same, but look at bumping up the amount of proteins and fats at the meal, because then we're focusing more on long-term satiety as well as long-term nutrition refueling of the body and all that kind of stuff, repair. So keep that in mind. Higher intensity, you want to go 1.5 to 2 times the amount of carbohydrates you normally eat after a meal. Or in the situation of having like a lower intensity workout, we would be getting you to eat the same amount of carbohydrates you normally would, just focusing a little bit more on proteins in the post-workout shake, as well as the proteins in the meal afterwards, right? That's very, very important because the post-workout nutrition plan, to me, is one of the most important things to get right for students, because you're looking to build up habits over your life, and good habits, right? Because one of the things is, I was saying this last time, a lot of people go to post-secondary university and then have never really taken care of themselves ever by themselves, right? So this is the first time you actually really start to adult out there, and of course you want to kind of set that bar high for like what that looks like for yourself. So that's going right now. That is the post-workout nutrition plan. Now, the next thing that I have is building muscle on a student budget. Right down there. Building muscle on a student budget is a little bit difficult because you'll hear a lot of people talk about the top tier quality of foods, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. Go back to the Nutrition for Students stream where I talk about the budget aspect of eating. I am not a budgeter. You should not take your financial advice from me at all. The best advice I can give you about finances is don't take financial advice from me. But generally speaking, you want to stick to a budget. You want to know how much you have to spend, all that kind of stuff. You want to be able to do all those kind of things. So if you're, for example, having issues managing your money around finances with food and all that kind of stuff, look at budget channels, look at other people, look at all that kind of stuff. They have better tips. And I'm doing the research for a video at some point in the future. But for now, listen to someone else. But what you want to do is take a look at your easily accessible protein choices that are easy to grab and go and to meet your nutritional needs for. A lot of people eat canned tuna. I don't recommend canned tuna because of the mercury poisoning aspect of everything, right? So what I do recommend people do instead of canned tuna is canned salmon, canned chicken, all that kind of stuff, because it's nice, easy, it's convenient, you can carry it with you. You just need a can opener, and yeah, that part's a little bit weird, but you're all students. Everything that you do is a little bit weird, including what I do still as an adult, right? We're all weirdos. That's the best way to be. Now, building muscle on a student budget, go back to the previous streams. It'll tell you everything you need to know, because what you need to do is eat basically standard. You're looking at your meal distribution. Like breakfast within an hour or two of waking up, focusing on a higher protein content, meals and snacks separated by about 3 to 4 hours to have your protein distributed, right? And the reason why this is important is because a lot of people will try to eat like up to 60, 80 grams at one meal at dinner, and it doesn't work for them. And the reason why it doesn't work for them is because the body can only absorb a good amount of protein at one particular time. Assuming that that's not a post-workout meal, generally speaking, you can absorb like 30 to 45 grams, but most people will have something like 70 grams of protein at one time because they think that's what they need in order to get big or to improve at their sport and all that kind of stuff. You'd be better distributing that protein over time. Now, there are certain foods, combo foods, that work really, really well to help build lean muscle mass as well. But of course, we're talking about higher protein carbohydrates, like beans, lentils, and legumes combined with your carbohydrates. Like if I really, really wanted to, I could add beans to my rice. But I mean, it would change the whole vibe of what this meal is, and that's why I didn't do it. So, you know, I still gotta focus on my nutrition at the end of the day, or my culinary stuff. So, you know, I make decisions that don't always align with everything, and that's okay. Because we're kind of doing our own thing. We kind of need to eat, right? I'm cooking enough chicken drumsticks for multiple days. I have the pan going for the bok choy, which will be the last thing. I'm just moving the chicken drumsticks around in here. There's definitely getting enough color this time on the chicken. And I'm just going to show you real quick what that looks like. Hopefully I don't burn anything. So, yeah, that's what that looks like. Soy sauce chicken. Not too shabby, but one of my favorite tasting things in the world. So, now we got this going. So what I'm going to do is we are going to throw the bok choy in. We're going to throw a little bit more Shaoxing wine in. Squeeze it as you can. But we're also going to take a little bit of the garlic. We're going to put that in. Whatever it needs. We're just going to move that around. That cooks really, really quickly. Now, generally speaking, I like to put them the cut side down, because that way they can get a little bit of char from the pan, get a little bit more flavor, that kind of stuff, but it really doesn't matter all that much. And remember, the core has a harder time cooking, right? So, once we have everything down, what we're going to do is use the Shaoxing wine. That'll cook off the alcohol from that. And then what we're going to do is take a little bit of the soy sauce from the soy sauce chicken. We're going to add it in. A little bit of sesame oil. This stuff is powerful, so you don't need too much in order to make a big impact. I think I put too much in there, but that's okay. And then, all right. That's going well right now. That's pretty much cooked. That's done. We're going to plate this up in a little bit. Just going to leave that going for just a little bit longer. But fundamentally, we're basically done cooking. We're basically done. So that's the good part. That's how fast this is, right? And I've been talking about nutrition the entire time. Good stuff. Okay. And the reason why I want to stall right now, especially because we're talking about muscle building on a student budget and all that kind of stuff, is because, like I said, there is a previous stream dedicated to this kind of stuff a little bit more already. There's other foods that I'd like to get you to look at. For example, textured vegetable protein, TVP. Very, very low cost source of a lot of plant-based proteins. Very, very good from an absorption standpoint. Able to get you a lot more nutrition for everything you're doing. So that's cooked. That's done. You take that off the heat. But I am going to use the lid. Just going to keep that on. Oh. The chicken is done. So we're just going to mix that up just a little bit more. We're going to turn that off in a little bit. But the chicken's pretty much done. And so I'm going to move this over here. And my rice is done over here. Check that out. Boom. Perfect. All right. I'm going to plate that up. I'm going to move everything back over to the original side. And then it's not going to be like amazing presentations today because, you know, it's rice and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to show you how to use bowls as a portion guide system because I think there's a lot of like guides out there for like plates, but if you don't use a plate model to eat, and this is the thing for students too, is just like if you know that you're going to be eating while studying, if you know while you're doing all that kind of stuff, then I would say start taking a look at bowls as your cutlery, your china, your whatever, because bowls are a little bit more significant in regards to teaching you how to portion size stuff out without actually having to portion it out. And the reason why is because if you were to ever take a look at like measuring what a cup of rice looks like, you will have an easier time recognizing or eyeballing what a cup of rice looks like after you measure it in the same bowl that you use over and over and over again. So this is one of the bowls that I really, really like because it's nice. It's got this Japanese indigo blue on it. But what we're just going to do right now is go to the rice cooker with my little rice paddle. And oh my God, everything's falling all over the place today. We're just gonna scoop out like approximately 1 cup of rice. So So the thing with me is I know exactly how much rice 1 cup is in this bowl, and that's why I'm telling you to consider using a bowl in your nutrition, because that way you don't have to like measure, you don't have to weigh. I don't recommend those kind of things, but you don't have to do that in order to know roughly where you're at in terms of portion size. So that's what a portion size of rice looks like. For me, that's what I'm aiming for tonight, because my workout was a little bit lower intensity. I was doing a ring gymnastics workout. I was not trying to build lean muscle mass or significant amount right now. I'm not trying to bulk or anything like that, but I am trying to maintain my lean muscle mass while I train for my half marathon. And for those of you that are curious, take a look at the training vlog. That will give you an insight as to what I'm doing, how I'm training, and pretty soon I'm going to start cooking during those videos too. So keep that in mind. We're going to portion up a good amount of vegetables, right? And then the chicken is done. So what I'm going to do is just take the chicken, move it over here so I can plate it in front of you all. But normally, I'll be honest with you, I just usually go over there, I just put a few on, and I wait for it to cool down, and then I hit it all up. So, we'll bring this over. We are going to have 3 chicken drumsticks tonight. for my meal anyways, your nutrition needs will vary, and that's completely fine. Everyone needs a different amount of food, but I'm having 3 tonight, and because there's so much flavor in this soy sauce, what I'm going to do is actually take some of it and pour it over the rice so that the rice can have a little bit more flavor, as well as throw in some bamboo shoots because I really, really, really love bamboo shoots. So I'm just going to take my clean spatula, and we're just going to have a good amount of sauce on it. So I'm just going to put a good amount of sauce in the bowl. 1.5 ladles will do. And then that'll be it. So what I'm going to do is put this back on over there, let it cool down before I put it in the fridge, all that kind of stuff, and then strain out the sauce. But that's basically it for dinner. Nice and fast. I'm still able to talk about my last discussion point, which is supplements for students, because I think this is a very, very, very important topic for a lot of students. And most people will not talk about it. So I've got a little bit of bamboo shoots because these are my favorite things, and I'm just going to put this right in the middle of my dinner, and that's going to give it a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of spicy oil, but really give it a little bit of a different kind of texture element when everything's mixed down. Because what I like to do is eat all the protein first, and then eat the vegetables, and then take all the flavor from the rice, from the soy sauce chicken, and the soy sauce sauce that is from the cooking, and then I just mix it all up and just eat it. You know, it's one of my favorite things to do. Anyways, let's talk about supplements for students. So supplements for students is a tricky discussion because one of the biggest things I tell people and parents all the time is that the supplement research, there is virtually no supplement research in anyone under the age of 18, right? Research ethics boards, despite how terrible they have been in the past, they now are overcorrected. And so there's no real research on how the effects of supplementation on children. So generally, under the age of 18, I don't recommend people supplement. Now, in very, very special cases, like elite athletes or high-performing athletes and all that kind of stuff that are under 18, I always sit down with the parents and the athlete, and I inform them of everything and tell them if there is perceived risk because it's never been studied in this age group. However, I also tell them, depending on the supplement that's being recommended, that they've been exposed to this protein their whole life. So, for example, whey protein. If the kid or the athlete grew up drinking milk, then they would have grown up having whey protein in their diet. If there is no milk allergy and all that kind of stuff, it's relatively safe. Then it comes down to, okay, what is in the protein powder, which is why I have this discussion point, this talking point of student supplements for students. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you're working at the varsity level, or if you're looking to go pro or anything like that, then your supplement choices do matter. There are programs out there like Certified Safe for Sport. There are informed choice programs. It's up to you to be able to know which supplements are good, pass the test, and do not have adulterants and all that kind of stuff, and there's those that don't. So I gave you Safe for Sport. NSF program is really, really, really good. But the program I like the most is the Informed Choice program or Informed Sport. Informed Choice takes a look at your supplements, it third-party tests them so that they comply, so that they only get on the product list, the approved product list, if that brand meets the IOC criteria, the International Olympic Committee criteria for substances and banned substances and all that kind of stuff, which also comply with varsity standards. So, or if you're going pro. So keep that in mind. What it also does is it guarantees that the ingredient list is in the stuff that's printed on the actual thing back here is actually in the product, because believe it or not, there's not a lot of regulation from the FDA that actually shows that you need to do that. So let me see if I can find the Informed Choice bag here, or the label here. Oh yeah, here. It's the lab tested one over here. But of course they all look a little bit different, and you always want to check. So you always want to check what your supplements are and whether or not they're safe for you at the varsity level, because of course if you get caught doping or drug doping and all that kind of stuff, even though it's by accident, even though it's like someone else's protein powders and all that kind of stuff, you have your whole athletic career to think about. So always want to be smart about the sports supplements. The two sports supplements I end up talking about the most with athletes are whey protein as well as creatine. Creatine is the safest supplement and it's the most well researched out there. It's very, very effective. However, the way I talk about creatine in its use with athletes is whether or not it's going to get them to their ceiling faster or help them push past their ceiling. So what I mean by that is if you're looking to build lean muscle mass purely for aesthetics, then this discussion really doesn't really matter to you. I get it. But if you're talking about varsity athletes, you might want to push your training up until the absolute limit before you consider creatine to improve your performance and your recovery rates. And the reason why is because creatine, although very, very effective, it can help you accelerate your growth so fast that you hit your ceiling. And once you hit your ceiling, there's nothing to push past that, right? That's always something that I consider and talk about with my clients before we even consider it. But for most people, when they're functioning at the varsity level, they're ready to go to that next step. So, you know, taking creatine is something that I just go like, yep, let's do it. Let's do it right away. Let's make sure you're recovering a lot better. I usually get people to take creatine after their hardest workouts, because what creatine will do is help them repair better, adapt better, and absorb better after those hard workouts. There is a point in taking it before the workout. There is a point in taking it afterwards. One thing you need to know about creatine is that if you take it, you will retain fluids. You will get bloated, depending on the creatine reactions. There's a lot of literature out there about creatine monohydrate, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But you will bloat, you will retain fluids as a baseline, right? That is important because depending on what time you're doing your workout, you might need to recognize that, hey, this is going to make me want to pee during this lecture. Can I do that, right? That's a big, big, big challenge for a lot of people because it's a practical issue. If your lecture hall is if your washroom is very far away from the lecture hall, that's something you have to take a consideration into and all that kind of stuff. It might affect your education. It might need to change your training timing, yada, yada, all those practical things that I am talking about with my clients. So keep that in mind. The other thing, no, that's pretty much it, how it retains fluids and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's pretty much safe, and if you're at the varsity level, we are usually talking about creatine, and it's funny because whenever I see student athletes talk about the sports nutrition, usually they are looking at trying to get their parents on board with them using creatine, but it's universally one of the safest supplements out there, so keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to take a picture of this, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to close out the stream because I am hungry. I need to recover from my workout, and, well, that's all she wrote. So, thank you for watching today. Thank you for being here. I will be back next week. We're going to be talking about a little bit more sports nutrition for athletes. And then next week, we're also going to reveal what the stream theme is going to be for the month of September. So, thank you very, very much for watching. I don't see any questions or concerns or any comments in chat. That's okay. I'll be here next week, and it is the final weeks of August, so I get it. But either way, you all have yourselves a wonderful day, and I will see you very, very soon. Oh, I better eat some of this before you know, I end the stream. So, chicken drumstick. Nice and salty. It goes well with rice because it absorbs all that flavor. One of my best favorite struggle bus meals out there. I may have put a little bit too much dark soy sauce in there, but that's okay. But the bok choy. Delicious, simple, very quick, very nutritious, very low cost too, by the way. And then the rice. Now, remember, I threw a little bit of the soy sauce from the soy sauce chicken in with the rice, so it's gonna have a ton of flavor, but it's gonna be hard to pick up. So there we go. Yes, I love it. So I'll tell you one thing: as a kid growing up, my preference was always, and it still is, noodles over rice. But rice is way easier, way more practical, has a lot more benefits to it and all that kind of stuff. From a practicality standpoint, from a culinary standpoint, from a storage standpoint, right? Both fundamentally still carbs. But if you were to serve me a bowl of white rice, I was not a fan. Not a fan. I don't love white rice. So I always have to have a little bit of flavor. That's why whenever I make soy sauce chicken, I always strain and save that soy sauce, put it in a bottle, and then keep using it for the rice that I make that week. Nice, easy way to get a lot of flavor in, and then reuse a lot of the same ingredients, right? Because otherwise you're just chucking that away, and to me that's a lot of waste of soy sauce. And like, if we're doing student budget meals and all that kind of stuff, we ain't wasting food. So when I wrap up, I'm going to plate this all up for tomorrow's lunch. Have the vegetables and the rice plated in a little Tupperware for tomorrow's lunch. And then the chicken, I'm going to put that in another Tupperware, but I'm not going to hold it in the sauce. I'm going to strain the sauce, put that in a jar, and then use that jar for other kind of cooking purposes throughout the week. Things that need salt, you need soy sauce and all that. I find the chicken fat, the chicken flavors really, really, really make everything taste good. So, nice, easy way of being zero waste from a culinary standpoint. But yeah, that's just what I do. Anyways, today was a nice and fast one. Very happy about that. Very hungry, by the way, doing a workout beforehand. That's okay. I'm still good. Please like, please subscribe. Please hit the notification icon. Next week, we're going to be telling you what September's stream theme is going to be. But we are going to be wrapping up the student survival guide, nutrition survival guide for the month of August. Thank you very, very much for those of you that are watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.